Oh, that was loud. So the question that we all have on the tip of our lips is whether we, with our NOVITEC exhaust system, have been able to fix the sound problem with the MC20. I suppose the only way to know is to ask you, what do you think? Turbos are ridiculous. Now everybody around the world is trying to make it a greener and a better place, and the supercar family, well, that's no different over there. They've reduced the engine size and the amount of pistons and then added a whole bunch of other things, including turbos. And now we have supercars with hybrid systems, or like this MC20 3-litre twin turbocharged V6 engine. But the one thing that all of us are really missing is the sound. And today's video is very much about that, to see how we fix that, because that is what we do over here, amongst other things, fix the sound as well as a couple of other things on the car. It's not been fitted with the final end product, in other words, the complete race performance exhaust system. That'll come your way in a couple of weeks, so keep your eyes out for that. What we've done at this moment is literally only replace the rear muffler with a race performance muffler from NOVITEC, and the rest of the exhaust is still standard for certain reasons, and we'll get to that in a second. On the outside of the car, you might not see much of a difference to the last video, which if you haven't seen, you can click on the top right hand side of the screen. But we have fitted our sport suspension to this car, lowering the ride height with about 20 millimeters. Also, the car has been fitted with spacers in the front and the rear, adding a bit of width to the track, and I think those two components together should make a bit of an interesting drive, especially in the road holding. But in order to understand a little bit about what we do with the exhaust systems, let's just talk about an exhaust system in total. You've got an engine up front in certain cars, 3.5 to 4.5 meters to really build up your sound from the outlet manifolds into the cats, where you can have normal cats, or you can have sports cats which have a lesser density for the air to flow through, or you can have cat replacement pipes, which basically gets rid of the cats altogether and offering you a bit more of a free-flowing system. However, that's not allowed in every country, and if you've seen cars like that on our channel, then that's predominantly because they're meant for export or we're busy testing. After that, you have the particle filter, which is really what obstructs the sound in a sports car, any car for that matter, predominantly. And if you take that out, well, that's really going to give your car a much better sound. In many of the modern supercars, when you have a particle filter, they just get rid of the center muffler. And for example, with the Ferrari Portofino M, and if you want to see that film, you can click over here and hear how sad that exhaust sounds like. If you look at a car with the engine at the back, you don't just have the engine, you've got the diff, you've got the gearbox, all of that resides in the rear of the car, and you have about that much in order to actually do the whole confabulation of your exhaust. How does that actually all fit in there? Well, the answer is it doesn't really. It's way more complicated. And so what makes the difference is really the diameter of the pipe, how long the extensions are before you get to a bend, what kind of bends you have, how many bends you have. It's a whole science of how to make a rear engine supercar sound good, which is why our exhaust system on the Ferrari Roma sounds distinctly different to that of an F8, although both are a 3.9 litre V8 engine. The little whistle here on the side is immaculate. Now, in this car, we've really just fitted race mufflers, which means that basically they kind of just open. And when you buy an exhaust from us, you can pretty much choose which components you'd like to have. Do you want to keep your CADs? Do you want to put in sports CADs? What kind of muffler you want to have at the rear, and so on and so forth. We also have the flap system, which means you can switch it on and off depending on how you'd like to have the sound. In a couple of weeks, we're going to fit the entire package to this MC20 to make it a full-blown NOVITEC version. So you haven't seen too many carbon fiber parts on it. That's going to come later, as well as wheels. And it's going to be a very different sound. Now, to hear what this car sounds like under pressure, we're going to take it out for a drive. But before we do, why don't we listen to what it sounds like standing still. Right, and in order to see just how loud our MC20 with its 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine is, with the stock exhaust except for the NOVITEC race mufflers, let's get our device out and see how loud she goes. A lot better, wouldn't you say, than the standard one at 112 dB. Why are we taking so long with this car? Why is it such a lengthy ordeal? Well, one of the reasons for that is the software. Cars are getting so modern and so intricately complicated, even on a programming level, that you need to reprogram a lot of this car's brain in order for it not to freak out when you add components such as an exhaust system, or if you get rid of your catalytic converter, replace it with a sport cat. The car will sense that and it wouldn't know what to do with this information, and so we don't want to reprogram the initial system in this car, because every now and then you get updates and then all of that would just be lost. So what we have is something like this, an OBD that basically just allows for your OPF and your catalytic conversion, whether it's a replacement or whether it's a sport cat or whatnot, so that those don't give you an error reading on your dash. It basically literally pinpoints those two specific things. Again, it does not suppress all the error warnings. It is all about safety, and these cars have intricate safety systems to help you stick to the road, which is not necessarily a bad thing, considering that this, there's 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. I'm going to talk about that in a second, because it really is an interesting motor. Turns out 630 horsepower. That's in total stock form, and 730 Newton meters of torque, which is a healthy dose. I mean, 0 to 100 is an estimated 2.9, at least that's what they claim, 2.9 seconds. And it really does feel very quick. 200 flashes by an 8.8, and then you have a top speed of 325. That really is 5 kilometers per hour slower than you get in a McLaren 765 LT, which feels like a whole different sort of a territory, to be honest. There are a couple of other things though that we need to pay attention on. It's not all fantastic. Let's just jump to the interior here, for example. It's minimalistic, I'll give them that, and I like that. There's this carbon fiber sort of section in here. There's Alcantara. The seats are comfortable. Got your bit of carbon fiber on the dash, but that noisy at the back. It can't be that a car with 1,600 kilometers costing around about, in this model with a couple of extras, 300,000 euros starts getting undressed after 1,600 kilometers. And that's not even track driving. I mean, what's up with that? You know, there are some things to sort of point out when it comes to the quality, and obviously one wouldn't know the extent of how good and how not good if you haven't really driven that for an extensive amount of time. But that really is worth mentioning. There is another thing though. This was not me driving. This was another driver yesterday that just had a bit of an acceleration and something came flying straight into his face. I think it's part of the aircon. I'll leave the aircon off then. You guys have done a lot of things right over here, but can't help but find a few flimsy things. Also the air vent, cheapy little plastic thingies. Maybe it's really about you know, the carbon cage in which you're sitting that has got lovely butterfly doors, a powerful engine, and comfortable seats. Maybe that's what it's about. Maybe it's a different kind of a statement. Maybe it's about the muscles and not about the personality. Who knows? Either way. The exciting part about this car is the little turbo whistle that you get right here from the air vents and the side shoulder. It's just lovely when the wastegate dumps that extra air in your left ear. There's quite a great deal of torque in the surge. Sort of a high end, can't help but feel that the power dissipates. This noise. Another thing to complain about though, and it's not really about trashing the MC20, is the rearview mirror, because when you would have a normal mirror then you won't be seeing much through the window. Yeah, you know, that sort of trident cladding over there, which is lovely by the way. They've replaced it by putting a camera at the back of the car. It now has a permanent display of whatever happens behind you, and because it's an LCD screen, you're not looking at something at a distance behind the car. So you're focusing far away over here and then close by over here. The moment I focus over here, which is a bit strenuous for my eyes, everything over here is blurred because of the depth of field, and I can't really pay too much attention then on what's happening in the road because I don't see it properly. The engine, let's get back to that. Twin turbocharged 3-litre 90-degree V6 engine. That is quite a V6 to be honest. It also has something called pre-chamber ignition, which is a concept that they first used in F1, and basically it just does a fantastic job at making the combustion within the combustion chamber occur a bit more rapidly, about 30% quick as a matter of fact. It's fascinating how that works. You really have a smaller combustion chamber right above your real combustion chamber that pre-ignites prior to the main combustion chamber being at optimal combustion state. And then the way that that pre-ignition exerts the fire into the main combustion chamber is the reason why it's 30% quicker than if you would have it from the conventional spark plug, which by the way is still there. It's just sort of offset to the side. What's interesting about that sort of pre-chamber ignition is that it's a very delicate, very sensitive thing, because if the ignition sort of preempts the ignition in the combustion chamber prior to it being at the optimal position, then you can have engine knock, which isn't a really good thing. This V6 is really causing a smile. Take it easy, China. Now, the NOVITEC springs we fitted onto this MC20, you know, lowering that ride height by about 2 centimeters, is proving to make a substantial difference. Also the track running wider, I think it's about 14 millimeters in the front and 17 at the back with our NOVITEC spaces. It makes a considerable difference. And the interesting thing with the MC20, if you look at it from the outside, you see that there's not all too many wings and things coming off of it, because they didn't really want it to look that flamboyant, you know? They wanted it to have a sort of a sleek appearance, and it does. And most of the airflow that keeps this car stuck to the road is actually moving underneath the car. I wonder how that's been aided now through the fact that you've dropped the ride height, and if that's going to have any influence on the top speed. It really could be a little bit louder. You guys let me know how you feel about that. On the outside it sounds peppy and alive, and the V6 has its own sort of special character, audibly that is. On the inside it sounds a little bit a little bit soft still. And that squeaky noise is definitely not doing that any favor. So we are in Corsa mode at the moment, which is actually why I reckon she's allowing a little bit of tail happiness, but it is very controlled and pleasant. The great thing about this car as well in the suspension setup is that you can press this button over here and allow the suspension setup to be softer while still having the engine in a high performance mode. Is actually ample. The 730 newtons feel present all the way, absolutely impressive. This car, fitted with the carbon ceramic brakes, an absolute must when you're driving a supercar. I mean, it's just crazy. If you're thinking figures of hitting 100 in under 3 seconds, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. The more I drive this car, the more it's just tickling your happy button. It's inviting, and there's a slight hint of challenge. How much that's really going to be transmuted to the buyers, well, we'll just have to see. I mean, is it one of the last greats, you know, being able to have an internal combustion engine only, albeit turbocharged, but is it going to be one of the last ones? The MC20 is a flawed car, you can't argue that. I mean, it's just being so brave to bring it out at this time in the world, and then making a whole new design, and especially using that 3-litre twin turbocharged V6, and you've got critics saying that that engine actually is, well, it's come from somewhere else where it's already existed. I'm not going to get into the details, you guys probably read all of that already, but I mean, who cares, because it's in a brand new body that harkens back to previous classics, and all of that's been embodied into this new car. So while we're on the last stretch of having these combustion only engines and supercars, why not just celebrate the fact that it is what it is? Flawed, but fun, because it is just a little bit alive. This kind of fun to be had in something that weighs 600-700 kilograms more and has an electric motor, which really behaves totally different to the throttle input. A different story, and one that we're going to be delivering input on in the very near future, because right now we're in the pinnacle of things changing, which means that's a very, very exciting time. For that, however wrong Maserati's decision might have been, it's a question of choice, it's a question of opinion, and perhaps that is exactly where we're going to leave it. Oh, there's a train. If you like this video, feel free to give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, then you can by hitting the subscription button, and also go over to that notification bell and select all, because that way you're going to get a notification every time we upload a new video, especially the next one on the full NOVITEC version of the MC20 with that complete race pipe, OPF delete, catalytic converter delete. It's going to be an absolute absolute raucous car. You can also follow us on Instagram, me personally at Beyond the Cook, or you can follow NOVITEC at NOVITEC Group. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, stay safe and see you then.